Hello and welcome once again to the Stand-Up Chronicles. I'm Adam Harris. My guest this week is Anthony Jeselnik. He's appeared on Down and Dirty with Jim Norton and has his own Comedy Central Presents. He was named one of Comedy Central's breakout comedians of 2009. He also wrote for the first year of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. The majority of our conversation is talking about that year and what it's like to write for a late-night talk show. Our show is sponsored by the Jukebox Comedy Club. Mary Mack, Jason Russell, Tim Wilson, Greg Hahn are all coming up. JukeboxComedy.com for ticket and showtime information. You can also find them on Facebook. Here's a clip of Anthony on Down and Dirty with Jim Norton.
My family is exactly like the Brady Bunch. We may not be perfect, but my father did die from AIDS. That's my opener. I'm going to build from that. I think having a baby is a lot like playing the lottery. Because more than anyone else, Latinos love it. Yeah. Please, take as much time as you need. I love Shakespeare. Favorite subject in school, still read Shakespeare today. People complain that it's impractical to learn so much about Shakespeare. But let me learn you something, HBO. If it wasn't for William Shakespeare, I would have totally overreacted when my fiance killed herself. Now, if you didn't laugh at that one, I understand. I'm not for everybody. But you should probably read more. One of my friends has gotten so many DUIs that he had to go to jail for a year. Now, his only concern was getting raped. So he didn't take a shower for the entire year because he was so busy getting raped.
I'm really interested about your time you spent writing for Jimmy Fallon. How did you get that gig?
It's funny, that was the gig that I wanted, literally that gig, like a starting out on a new late-night show,
sure.
Writing monologue jokes. When I got into stand-up comedy, 7.5, 8 years ago, I was like, I want to do well at this so I can get that job. And then I think just kind of like when they were putting together the staff for the show,
sure.
Things had just been kind of happening. I had just done my Comedy Central special, and things were working out, and I really wanted that job, and was one of the first writers that they hired, the first monologue guy they hired.
Oh, really?
For that, back in, almost 2 years ago, and started before the show even started.
Sure.
And worked for just writing monologue jokes and contribute to other things and reading sketches and things for a little over a year.
Okay.
And but the whole time I was working on that show, I was also doing stand up every night. In New York, and which is exhausting.
Yeah, it's got to be.
But I was terrified to be one of those writers who stopped doing stand up when they got their writing job. And after a year, I was just so burned out. I left on great terms where I told them, here's what I want to do. I gave them a month's notice. Everyone was cool. And now I'm just waiting to see if I get nominated for an Emmy.
Awesome. That'd be very cool.
The staff, yeah.
Now, when did you have to submit a writing packet with monologue jokes in it?
Yeah, but it was different. Like I think they wanted packets where people would send in, 5 sketch ideas and then 10 monologue jokes. And I said, screw this. I don't want to be sketch. Let me give you 20 monologue jokes. More. And they really responded to that at the time. They were just starting to look at monologue people. And they I think the name recognition and I think it was just a strong packet too of 20 jokes that they liked. And met with the producers and then with Jimmy. And it all worked out. So.
Now, here's what I've always heard is that if you want to work for a late night, if you want to write for a late night talk show, or if you want to write for a sitcom, you got to go to Harvard. Is that true?
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
There's the Lampoon guys, all come in. There was a bunch of them on the show. it's funny. There's like Lampoon people, and then there's like everyone else. Like if you're not one of those Lampoon guys, you hate the Lampoon guys.
Really?
Some of my best friends were, were Harvard people, but just that part of it, you're like, just roll your eyes and be like,
really? Is it kind of cliquey almost?
Kind of. I think it's just you always have that connection.
Sure,
it's kind of like a thing that will can help you out, but you still have to be funny. There's plenty of Harvard Lampoon guys who never get that job, and I think it's just a helpful thing to kind of get you some experience before you get out of college even. I know the producers would say we don't hire anybody right out of Harvard. We need to wait till they get that first job first and learn what it's like.
Okay,
because you can come in and just you don't know what you're doing. It's you can be pretty unbearable. But yeah, Harvard is a big thing. I keep telling people who would ask me about how to get the job. People would ask, and I would say, well, either do stand up for 7 years, like I did,
right,
or I think a big thing now, and people hate to hear this, but start a blog. Start a blog and just post like 5 monologue jokes a day, and eventually it will build. I know a guy who wrote for Conan's Tonight Show for a while, got hired right off writing a blog. Like people just knew him.
Cool. Wow!
He didn't have to submit a packet. They were just like, come do the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work.
Now, what's a typical day like working for one of those shows? What time do you get in? Are there meetings?
It's almost a 24-hour job.
Wow,
which is weird.
Okay.
Like I would do stand up at night, and then I would go home and write for about 2 hours. They would send us premises.
Whoa.
Like the writer's assistant would go through the headlines and write, whatever the headline of the day was, and it would almost be the first sentence of a joke. Like Bill Clinton went to North Korea to bring back 2 hostages.
Sure.
And then you'd write the punchline to that. You'd write several versions. I would write about 2 pages of jokes, like 20, 25 jokes at night before I went to bed. I would get up around 7:30, 8 in the morning, and I had to be there early because like you've got to get a head start on everything. Get into work by like 8:30. And I was one of the later guys to get there. And then you'd write all morning until about 11:30. Turn in your jokes to the head monologue writer. He would look at it all, compile it, have a thing to give to Jimmy. Jimmy would go through it, maybe 5 pages of jokes from everybody, and mark the ones he wanted to try in rehearsal. They would come out of that meeting. They'd say, all right, Jimmy wants to try 15 jokes out of the packet we gave him. We need to write 10 more. We need to have 10 more for him. So everyone writes like crazy for an hour. They take those jokes, take the best ones they think, and put them in there. So Jimmy will just see them fresh in the rehearsal. He would do that for a studio crowd that would come in. People going on tour through 30 Rock or something.
Oh, really? Okay.
He would come in. He would try the jokes, kind of just to say them out loud. But if the crowd really reacted to something, he would usually use it. And then after that, you had an idea. Hopefully there were 15 jokes out of that rehearsal that he liked, and then you'd be done for the day. You kind of put them in order and maybe kind of work on the wording. How you get into each joke, make it more Jimmy style and everything. You had about maybe half an hour to do that afterwards. Sometimes, if there weren't that many jokes, you have to go back and write for another 20 minutes, and that was like a crazy, just like everything you could write. Kind of get in there just to make it. But every day you come in and you start from scratch. No matter how good Monday's monologue was or how bad it was, Tuesdays is totally independent of that. So it was an interesting experience. You'd always you find yourself. You'd have so much knowledge of things you hated. Like I knew everything that Miley Cyrus was doing, and I couldn't believe it. I was just you just know and be in that kind of mindset, and you would pray for some kind of big news story. The week Michael Jackson died, we were all screwed because there were no stories other than Michael Jackson.
Right.
But you couldn't joke about Michael Jackson.
True. Right.
If the Balloon Boy had happened, like every week we would have been sitting pretty. Something like that where no one gets hurt. We're thrilled about a story like that.
Now, when you're writing those jokes at night, is there ever a sense of, do I save this for myself? Or do I turn it in for the show?
People always ask that, but not for me. My style, I've never really had any current event stuff in my act. And occasionally I would tell people, like these are jokes I wrote today that got rejected or whatever. But it felt like it was kind of against my stage persona to even be writing for, that show. Like, so it was weird that it never bothered me. And most of my favorite jokes, the edgier stuff, the darker stuff, never made it to air. Because it was just it wasn't Jimmy style. So that was never a real problem.
Now, what's it like to work in that building with all of the history, not only broadcasting history, but also comedy history? Is that cool? Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, just to be able to walk, like we would have to meet with Lorne Michaels, and we were able to walk through the halls of SNL, which is a couple floors above us. And you would a tour group, but they would make the tour group stop and move out of the way so we could walk by. And just stuff like that. We're like, wow, like tourists come to look at where I work. Was incredible. Was incredible. Yeah.
Now, what do you mean with Lorne Michaels for?
Because he was the producer of.
That's right. Okay.
Conan's old show, and then he picked Jimmy for this. So he would kind of just tell us, give us some advice. Never really nothing too personal, but just saying, here's how it's going to be. Here's some tips
Sure.
for writing the monologue and,
Sure.
and how everyone should approach the show, kind of.
Now, you've had many different experiences. You were a teacher for a while. You were a strip club bouncer, or is that correct? Or doorman?
Yeah.
How have all of those different experiences helped you with stand-up, if at all?
Maybe if it's helped at all, it's been just to give me. I just know what I don't want to do. Does that make sense?
Sure, sure, yeah.
Jobs where you're just like, God, like, I really this is not what I should be doing. Thank God I know that I shouldn't be doing this. Like I kind of felt like I was not meant for something, but that teaching wasn't it.
Right.
Retail was not going to do it. Like just those awful jobs you have that kind of give you a little character.
Right.
It's really helped.
And I was reading an interview. What was the line? Because you got fired from the teaching position, and what was the line that they used?
Oh my God! They said it was a bunch of like high school kids, so it was like a bunch of like 17-year-olds, and they said I was supposed to keep everybody in line because it was like these troubled kids. And they said it was like having an extra emotionally troubled teenager in the room.
I love that line.
I thought it was hilarious.
That's hilarious.
I would try to be sarcastic. I would try to be their friend and be sarcastic and joke around, and they never got it, so they would just get mad. Like I started more fights than I ever broke up in there.
Nice. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to Doug Benson's I Love Movies podcast, and you were on it. They play a game on that podcast, and you did something pretty incredible. Can you explain the game and what happened? And it was amazing to listen to.
I believe it's called the Leonard Maltin game, or the Leonard Maltin Challenge, and where he goes through a book of Leonard Maltin's reviews. He's reviewed every movie, and he'll say, "This is I'd never even heard the podcast or played the game before." And he'll say, "This is a movie." He'll give a topic, like mine was disaster movies. So this movie came out in 1994. He gave it 3 stars, and here's a line from the review, and he would just give a one-sentence part of it that you couldn't know. And you have to guess. You have to say how many names you can guess it in. So
and he starts at the bottom of the names and works up to more famous
people.
If
you say I can name it in 3 actors, he would name the bottom 3 actors, and then you'd have to know it. But I got it. I nailed both movies without hearing a single actor, and just knew it based on the year. And the line from the review, nailed it. Yeah.
It was so funny to listen to, and I'm sure it was fun for those people to be there.
I was so happy. It's funny because Doug is trying to get a tournament of champions together for that.
Yeah,
with like Patton Oswalt, Dana Gould,
Jimmy Pardo. I know was in there. Paul F. Tompkins, I believe.
Paul Tompkins, and a couple other people who had maybe gotten one in one guess. But he said no one's gotten both of them.
I know
on the same thing. So he keeps trying to get me to fly back. He's like, I'll fly you to L.A. if you want.
Oh, really? Okay.
But that's 12 hours with the flights to go to a podcast. I don't think I'm going to do it. That was incredible fun, and I was shocked that it went that well.
So then you're based out of New York right now, then? Okay, but you have spent time in L.A. before.
I started in L.A. I lived in L.A. for about 7.5 years before I moved to New York.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've been in New York for almost 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like New York better? Difference in comedy scenes?
It's so different. It's unbelievable. And I love New York. Love it. In New York, you can go around, you do a bunch of spots, you have crowds, and there's a lot of clubs, and they treat the comics right. You get paid. And in LA, the stage time is way different. There's not as many clubs. It's harder to get spots. You don't get paid usually because they think you should just be grateful for being there. That I love New York way more than LA.
Talking about your character that you play on stage, or your on-stage persona, was that something that came about gradually over time, or was that something that one night it just clicked and you said, okay, this is the way it's going to work?
A little bit of both. I was nervous, when I started out, and I wanted to be kind of deadpan. I thought, let the jokes speak for themselves. I don't need to sell it too much. I didn't want to be physical.
Right.
I didn't have that kind of energy. And as I kind of kept going, I would start to say things that were a little meaner and more egotistical, and the audience just started laughing at them. And I thought, wow, I can kind of get away with this and have it be funny. And it kind of snowballed from there, where I just really enjoyed being the bad guy on stage. It's gotten to the point now. I remember watching professional wrestling when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I would see the bad guy come into Madison Square Garden and grab the mic and say, New York City is the worst city. And they would start booing, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was.
It's like, of course they're going to boo that. It's just looking for those boos. But I thought that was it. That was hilarious to me.
So what were your professional wrestling fandom years?
I was, when I was a kid, around the time of Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Randy Savage. I was big fans of those guys.
Yeah.
And then when WCW became big again.
Yeah, okay.
When they had like the NWO,
right.
And that was huge. I got back into it, and that's when I started to like love guys like Razor Ramon, or just these like these hilarious bad guys who were just the biggest dicks of all time. I thought that was
right, because mine is from WrestleMania 3 to pretty much WrestleMania 7, so like 87 to 91 in there. Yeah. But you're right, and I've come to kind of respect them in a way because they have to stay in character the whole time, no matter how stupid or juvenile what they're saying is. Because I look at like a tag team like Demolition or something like that where their faces are painted and they look ridiculous and they have to be absolutely serious. And they can't be like, we're just bullshitting you.
Oh, it's hilarious. And once you find out that it's not like, it's scripted but not that scripted, where they've got to kind of come, when they're talking, they're just talking off the top of their head or they've planned it out, but it's them doing it. I thought was amazing. It's hilarious.
What are you reading, watching, listening to right now that you like?
Listening to, I've got 2 albums that I'm listening to like crazy. One is called this new band called the Sleigh Bells.
Okay.
SLEIGH It's like a band from Brooklyn. It's kind of like noise pop. I hear it's called like a lot of just like kind of like hard guitars, and then this young girl who kind of like half sings over it. You got to listen to it. But it's great. Their big song is "Crown on the Ground," which is awesome. That album just came out, and then the other one I just got is called Distant Relatives. It's Nas and Damian Marley.
Okay.
Which is another great album that just came out. Those are my 2. And books, I just finished reading, and it's like haunting me. One of those great books you read.
Yeah, sure.
Is called Blood Meridian.
Okay.
By Cormac McCarthy, the guy who wrote The Road and No Country for Old Men. It's like one of the most violent books ever. It's like a Western. About like a group of people, a group of cowboys who were kind of chasing Indians. Great book, and I'm rereading a book called Glamorama by Bret Easton Ellis. Okay. Bret Easton Ellis has a new book coming out next month, and I'm a huge Easton Ellis fan. Okay. He wrote American Psycho, Less Than Zero.
Yeah, okay, no.
And so I've been rereading that lately.
Excellent,
that's a great book, too. Yeah.
Watching anything? Seeing any movies?
What did I just see? What movie did I just see? I just saw Iron Man. Wasn't that?
It was okay. Not as good as the first one.
It was all right.
Yeah.
I just saw a movie called A Prophet, which is a foreign film, kind of like a Godfather type movie. It's a guy's rise to like power in prison, which was good. I just watched it in a hotel. And TV, I've been watching Lost. I got sucked back in for the last season. Can't wait for
Tomorrow's
Sunday.
the big night.
My girlfriend wants nothing to do with it, so it's hard. I don't know how I'm going to get to watch it tomorrow. Having her give me an hour or 45 minutes to watch it on TiVo is one thing, but a 2-hour thing live.
Right, 2.5 hours.
Oh, that's right, 2.5.
Yeah, and then you've got Jimmy Kimmel coming on afterwards.
I can miss the Kimmel part. I'm sure it'll be great, but I don't need. I'm not that big a fan. But I would love to see it live. I've been watching 24 this season.
Okay,
that season finale is Monday, and Justified.
Oh, the new one on FX.
Yes.
Okay.
A big Timothy Olyphant fan, actor, and that's a great show.
I think he's an underrated actor. He needs to be in more stuff.
He's in so much stuff, and he's always. I feel like if you showed him everything that he's been in, everyone would love him. I'm surprised he's still under the radar. Because I know
I know him from Deadwood. He was great in that, and I think I'm like, if you need a guy to play a superhero, this would be a good guy to play a superhero.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sure I'll get there at some point.
What do you got coming up? Where can people find out more about you?
Coming up, well, I mean, it's kind of a transition for me. I just recorded an album 2 weeks ago, and Comedy Central's putting that together and mixing it. It'll come out in either late August or November. Okay. So they've got other things coming out in September and October. Hopefully late August. So right now I'm just kind of in New York. Things kind of slow down during the summer. Then I'm just going to write. Hopefully a whole new act. It's hard because it's one-liners. So sure. A new joke is only 20 seconds at a time, but write as much as I can. I just rented myself an office in the city. Just go in and work every day, write for myself, and then hopefully by the fall I'll start touring big time, off the album and just get everywhere I can and have a whole new act hopefully.
Having that practice of writing every day for Fallon, does it make it easier then to write every day?
A little bit. It's different because on Fallon you always had the first part of the joke.
That's true. Oh, that's right.
Like,
that's
if I'm going to write a joke for myself, I don't have that.
Sure.
Maybe I want to write a joke about, suicide or masturbation or something, but like you've got to just kind of randomly kind of go. You have to be more focused than you could if someone just put it in front of you and you just wrote whatever. It helps. It's almost like if you're working out.
Right.
You're lifting weights every day. You don't realize maybe how it helps you on the field or whatever else you're doing, but it is a little easier, even if it's subconsciously. I don't know if that's the way to say
So
that.
so then, do you start with the topic? Do you say, all right, I'm going to talk about suicide now, or masturbation?
A little bit, something will pop in, or
Sure.
like something random will just come to me. And if I feel like I've really put the work in, I write for an hour a day. Then the rest of there's other 23 hours I'm walking around, and my brain is already going in that motion. So things will just come to me like that. There's no real like one way to do it. But if you've got to keep exercising, But I wrote like 70 jokes a day for Fallon.
Wow!
And it got to the point where I didn't know what was funny anymore. I just knew how to do the formula.
Sure.
That I would have to ask people like, "Is this funny?" I don't know.
Is it like a math problem then?
Exactly.
This plus
like
this equals this. Wow.
Yeah.
Then are you doing, is the majority of your stand-up work headline now? Because the last time you were here, you were featuring for Brian
Totally
Posehn.
headlining, yeah.
So totally headlining
I was featuring for him, and then by the time the special came out is when I took the job on Fallon. So when I could have been going off and headlining, I was just sitting there, in the city, and now it's all headlining.
Okay.
I don't think I'll open for anyone. It would have to be some kind of crazy deal for me to do it. But now it's just more fun to be the guy.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I feel like with my persona, it's weird for me to be opening for someone.
Sure.
It's a little different.
Although it worked great with Brian. That was a fantastic
Brian's
show.
was a fan and just loved having me come out and go in front of him. He was always bummed. He's like, I know I'm going to lose you, but he's been a great supporter of mine and really great.
Awesome.
Really great guy.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Want to thank Anthony for joining me this week. You can find out more about him by visiting anthonyjeselnik.com. Thanks for listening. Have a good week. We'll talk to you later.